Today, we have another episode of Conspiracy Theory Tik-Toks that will make you question reality, man. I be telling y'all, man, I need to open y'all third eye and really not just ignore a lot of the things that really go on in this world. Like I'm telling y'all, we go take this episode by episode, and I'm finna be waking a lot of y'all up to just experience things to where y'all didn't even notice. Like, dang, I've been looking past that. Like I haven't really been noticing anything about, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't really pay too much attention. Like I didn't notice that this was like this because of this. Now that I see it, it makes sense. So I'm just gonna be helping y'all putting two together to get 100. You see what I'm saying? But let's get into it right now and see what this is talking about, man. Y'all know how the government gets.
Cases around the world, starting in Australia. In August of 1994, a fisherman was on the Hawkesbury River when he felt a strong tug against his fishing net, but what he pulled up was a heavy piece of steel shaped like a crucifix, and attached was the remains of a human. The police discovered it was a man's body that had initially been covered in plastic and intentionally arranged on the crucifix, which had been custom built and would have been too heavy for a single person to lift and dump in the river. There was no matching missing persons report, and because he had been in the water between 6 and 12 months, his fingertips and facial features had eroded, so his identity remained unknown. Until 2018, when advances in DNA technology identified him as Max Tansevsky, but despite now knowing his identity, his case remains unsolved.
The unsolved case of D.B. Cooper. On Wednesday, November 24th, 1971, a man boarded a plane heading from Portland to Seattle. All he brought with him was a suitcase and a paper bag. Midway through the flight, Cooper handed a flight attendant a note and told her he had a bomb. He instructed the flight attendant to sit down next to him and he showed her the bomb. In the suitcase were 4 sticks of dynamite and a bunch of wires. He then told her to write down his demands and take them to the pilot. He wanted $200,000 in $20 bills put in a backpack. He requested 4 parachutes, 2 front chutes and 2 back chutes, a fuel truck to immediately refuel the plane when they land, and not to try anything funny or he'll set off the bomb. When they landed in Seattle, Cooper traded the passengers for the items he had requested. He then told the plane to take off and head for Mexico City, but to fly below 10,000 feet. Shortly after the plane had taken off, Cooper opened the rear doors and jumped out of the plane somewhere near the Washington and Oregon border. 9 years later, a boy found a brown paper bag with $20 bills that matched the serial numbers of the money given to Cooper, totaling $5,800. Until this day, Cooper and the remaining money are still missing.
Wow.
The greatest conspiracy theories of all time are these fact or fiction. We may never know. It's been 50 years since Neil Armstrong allegedly landed on the moon, but my sources tell me the US government, eager to beat Russia in the space race, faked the lunar landing. People in 1969 could barely watch TV without a 5-foot antenna. You think they're landing on the moon?
Right.
Doubtful. Was JFK killed by the CIA, the KGB, the Mafia? Could be all of the above, or it could be none of the above. Did Jeffrey Epstein actually take his own life? Or was it the act of a few famous individuals he had compromising information on? Yes. Has the government suppressed information that reveals the Earth is actually a flat, infinite plane? Obviously not. Did the mysterious Malaysia Airlines flight just vanish into thin air? Or was it digitally hijacked by hackers who rerouted the plane to Antarctica? Your guess is as good as mine.
The strangest
I do
unsolved
want to
mystery.
talk on that the very first one about the, let me see where it was at, about the astronauts. Let me tell you something. They can't get out of space now. It's difficult for them, bro. Look at all these SpaceX explosions and all these. Look at everything. Every time you see some type of space rocket that supposedly needs to go out of space, like it explodes. So how are they able to get out of space, record out of space, jump on the moon, come back down safely when a lot of the other Apollo missions, people have literally lost their life? Like if you want to be biblical or scientific, like we're in the firmament, and it says it in the Bible. If y'all think I'm lying, I could pull up a verse right here and read it for y'all, but I'll let y'all do it on your own, man. We're in the firmament, which means that there's water above and there's water below.
From each state. Today, by popular demand, we have Maryland. This is a picture of Daniel Beckwith, who hired Askia Kafra to dig these unexplained, mysterious tunnels deep in his basement of his home in Bethesda, Maryland. And one day, the police get a call that there's a fire in Daniel's house, so when they arrive, they they see Daniel standing outside of the house, and when the fire investigators go and investigate, they find this hole in the concrete floor of his basement. And so when they explored a little more, they find Askia's body down there. The detective said that these tunnels were at least 20 feet below the surface and at least 200 feet long. Daniel was not doing this legally, and he knew that he had Askia working in very unsafe working conditions. Again, not legal. Daniel claims that he picked up Askia from his house in Silver Spring, Maryland, and then drove him to Manassas, Virginia, which is very close to where I live, with these darkened blackout sunglasses on, so that he wouldn't know where he's going. But according to the police, he never actually did that and just drove him to his house in Bethesda and only let him take off the sunglasses once he was in the basement. And Daniel was charged with involuntary manslaughter. Do you think he did it on purpose?
Strangest Unsolved Mysteries from Every U.S. State, Part 17, Washington. This is the story behind Jason Padgett, a heavy drinker and partier who became a mathematical genius overnight. In 2002, Jason was a furniture salesman, and he partied hard at the bar every single weekend. One night, Jason was savagely attacked outside the bar and was left with a severe concussion. When Jason recovered, he found that he was able to easily visualize the most complex of mathematical and physical concepts, something that even other mathematical geniuses struggle with. Before that, Jason hadn't even done college math. Doctors have no explanation for why his brain just randomly decided to evolve, and they say
crazy.
it was like he was struck by genius.
This woman received mysterious calls for months before something terrible happened. In 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott began receiving threatening calls from an unidentified man. It got so bad she started taking karate classes and contemplated buying a gun. But then on May 28, 1980, co-workers witnessed her car recklessly speeding out of a parking lot. The next day, her car was found burning in an alleyway with no one inside. Then a week after her disappearance, her parents began receiving mysterious phone calls from a man that were too short to be traced. They got a phone call almost every Wednesday afternoon. This went on for 4 years, until Dorothy's skeletal remains were found buried along with the bones of a dog. After her remains were recovered, her parents received one last phone call from the man who said, "Is Dorothy home?"
Some of Hollywood's greatest conspiracy theories are these cap or fact. We may never know. Rumor has it Stevie Wonder may not be blind. If he was, how could he perfectly operate this camera? Sources say O.J. Simpson could be Khloe Kardashian's father. The chemistry here is off the charts. And if Tupac died, why was his photo taken one day after his alleged murder? Is Nicolas Cage really just a Civil War-era vampire? Most likely. Is Jay-Z just a time traveler from the Harlem Renaissance? He's really just a civil...
That is crazy. That is honestly really crazy.
War-era vampire? Most likely. Is Jay-Z just a... time traveler from the Harlem Renaissance? Most likely, yes.
Wow.
And did Gucci Mane really go from running the trap to running track? Or was he cloned in a Georgia jail cell? Who knows?
3 theories about 3 well-known brands. Theory 1. Starbucks employees are told to intentionally misspell your name so you share a picture of your cup on social media, and when you post it, you're just giving them free advertisement. Number 2. Dasani, which is owned by Coca-Cola, is considered one of the worst water brands out there. Why is that? Well, there's a theory that they add salt and other chemicals to their water, thus making you more thirsty so you will buy more water.
Wow.
Next time you're at a movie theater, sports game, or amusement park, see what kind of water they sell. Chances are it's Dasani. Theory number 3. Well, this one's not really a theory, but it's more of a fucked up fact. Nestle started out as a baby formula company. And in the 1970s, when Nestle was trying to grow its baby formula market around the world, they paid fake medical professionals to promote their formula. In Asia and Africa, Nestle hired saleswomen dressed as nurses to give out free medical advice and free samples of formula. These samples lasted just long enough for mothers to stop producing milk naturally, which resulted in them becoming dependent on the formula.
Alright, a lot of people have
Wow.
requested I do this, so here's the mystery of the Pan Am Flight 914. This is probably one of the most bizarre mysteries I have ever heard of. On July 22nd, the flight Pan Am 914 was departing from New York to Miami. It was carrying 57 passengers and 4 crew members. There was nothing unusual about the flight, and it took off at its scheduled time. But then, it lost signal midway through the flight. And there was no indication that anything went wrong, there was no crash, no bodies found, and they just said that, okay, it probably crashed in the ocean. Now, this is where it gets fucking crazy. After 37 years, it landed. Juan de la Corte, this man made contact with the plane 37 years after it went missing. The pilot literally said, "We are Pan American Airways Flight 914 from New York to Miami with a crew of 4 and 57 passengers. We were scheduled to land at 9:55 a.m. on 2nd July 1955.
Wow. That literally reminds me of a real life manifest. Like, it's a lot of stuff that they put in here that It has some real like backstory. I actually need to look that one up a lot because I did not know about this one that landed 37 years later. It's called Clipper. I got to try to find this. Clipper something. Clipper Anatomy. Arcanadia, something like that. I gotta look that up because now it makes sense of why these shows been coming out like Manifest, and it's just been so popular. But it's not just Manifest, it's a lot of other shows, but everybody know about the tales and the things of the Bermuda Triangle and just planes disappearing and never being found again. I tell y'all, man, they be putting real stuff that happened in these movies and these shows just to see how we react to it as a dependent variable. We would never know what's 100% on going on with this world. We would never know. That's the only sad thing. Like, just imagine if there's confirmation that we can finally see the corpse of some type of extraterrestrial being. How would it be? Everything will start making sense. Like the Egyptian pyramids will start making sense. Like just history. Like they wipe our history away from us, and it seems like this is the only time that we live in where our history, where we seem like we are the slowest, the less educated, the less appreciated. Like it just seemed like this years of living in this type of generation is at an all-time low of just being a human race in general. You know, but they can honestly just be wanting that to happen and feeding our head with these lies and hopes and things that don't really go on. Y'all let me know what y'all personally think about this down below.